My name is Nicole Edmonds. I'm the director here at the MSU Student Food Bank. Historically, many of the staff members here at the Student Food Bank have been from the dietetics program, and I was in the dietetics program here in my undergrad. And so I found out about an open position through my academic advisor, and so I started here in 2012 as the operations manager, and I've been here ever since. We're actually celebrating our 25th anniversary this year, and it started out very small as sort of holiday baskets for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and it's grown and grown, and it's always been housed here in Olin Health Center. So we only serve MSU students. The only requirement for them to be eligible to use our resource is that they're enrolled as a student here. And each year we serve anywhere from 6,000 to 7,000 students, and that includes their families. And so each biweekly distribution will serve 300 to 350 students and their families. I think a big misconception about food banks in general is that maybe the food is expired, maybe it's just canned items, non-perishable items, maybe everybody will get offered the same standard bag of food. But here at the MSU Food Bank we have a huge variety of food, including fresh produce, fresh breads from local bakeries, MSU Dairy Store cheese, and just different varieties of food all the time. If students are feeling reluctant to use our services, I implore them to please come see it. Even if you don't use the service when you come, just come see what we're giving away, come feel the environment, feel the atmosphere, see how much of a welcoming environment it is, and just know that you're not alone, and this is temporary, and perhaps you could utilize this service and give back to it in the future. I think it's incredibly important for organizations such as the MSU Student Food Bank to be here to support other students, and just recognizing the incredible administrative support that the Student Food Bank has and allowing us to serve the students in need.
My name's Parker Thompson, and I'm a Media and Information senior.
I'm Brandon Price. I'm a graduate student in Media and Information, and this is actually my last semester.
My experience with food insecurity hasn't been major because I've been living on campus most of the time, so I've had a meal plan, and so I haven't really had to worry about it. But this past summer I lived in a house, and so I was like paying rent and having to buy food, and there was a point where money got really tight and I had to sell some of my stuff to be able to like make rent and get food. And I still only had like 30 bucks for food for like 2.5 weeks, and so it was pretty stressful.
When I moved off campus my first week, my dad and I went out shopping and he helped me a little bit. And when I mean a little bit, like I'm actually talking like 20, 30 bucks. So not the same as like a lot of students who are like, oh, my parents helped a little bit, like that means like $1,000. This was like some cans of vegetables and some beef bouillon cubes because I know how to make vegetable soup. Lived off vegetable soup for like a whole solid week, and that was it. Morning, night, vegetable soup every day. It's not a comfortable feeling knowing that like I'm not sure where I'm going to get that next meal from or what that's going to look like.
Food insecurity definitely impacted my academics negatively. You know, when you're so stressed about something as simple as food, it's hard to focus on, you know, academics. It feels secondary to like fulfilling your basic need. So I feel like definitely my academics suffered.
I excelled for a bunch of different reasons, but I don't think that that should be considered indicative of how others' experiences are. I grew up in an environment that told me that occasionally you're gonna go hungry, and that's not how everyone else has it. And some people come from middle-class families that don't get the types of resources that I would get, and some people start to learn for the first time as an adult what it's like to go hungry, and that's not the same as like growing up with that.
I feel like food insecurity in college specifically is more difficult because you're at a point where maybe you don't have anyone supporting you. Some people, you know, their families can just like send them money or like whatever, but some people aren't that fortunate, and so it's just extra stressful.
With college, there's more at stake. It's not the same with like growing up with that type of issue. And it's a hard thing because now there's this psychological stress where I feel like, am I a failure because I can't feed myself? Am I like basically crawling back to my family for help? And in my case, it differs now because there's more on the line. I have to be responsible for myself. And that's the problem, is that I don't have other people to do it for me.
I think there's such a stigma about going to a food bank because people associate it with poverty, and unfortunately, like, poverty is associated with a lot of different negative things. It's viewed in a very negative light. And so people view going to a food bank as maybe almost like a failure because you're not living up to some standard that you can't even provide food for yourself, which is really unfortunate.
I guess you could look at it as like this, kind of like this pauper mentality, so to speak. Nobody wants to think they're poor. And this is coming from like having lived in a trailer park growing up my whole life. And if you're poor, the problem is having this painful existence growing up and thinking my life could have been better, and feeling like any type of action you engage in just kind of enables these habits that allowed that to happen.
I don't think there should be a stigma around food banks because food insecurity is actually a really big problem that's swept under the rug a lot, and like talking about it would help so many people, like destigmatizing it.
Regardless if you are from a wealthy family or from an impoverished family, don't let any preconceived notions you have about what kind of life you should live, don't let that get in the way of what your needs are. If you're hungry, eat. It's that simple. MSU's food bank, first and foremost, they're here to help you, and they're not expecting any money. You don't have to have like any documentations or paperwork. They're here to help, and they're not here to judge. People who worry, because even the person that I lived with, we went there before, and she didn't originally want to go because she was worried that like, oh, I'm gonna be getting like this crappy, like low-grade food, but they will give you a brick of cheese like almost the size of my head and like a bunch of other things. You can get some, like, while there's not like as much fresh produce as you'd see in like a grocery store, you can still get stuff like that. These are people that care, and they understand that you have nutritional needs, so they're not just gonna just throw you cans of beans. They care. I think if there's any bullet point that I want to put down is that they're here to help you and not make you feel bad about yourself.